Hey, it's me, Raj, king of the slimes. But I am not the one you know. I am sending this message to you from a parallel dimension where I have consumed an illegal drug. But it is otherwise identical, and everything I have learned from the experience still applies. All of the events I am relaying to you, however, are non-canonical and thus do not count as an admission of any crimes, because it's all just a very plausible fictional scenario I'm presenting to my audience for the purpose of a flight of fancy. If any cops are watching this, and if there are, you have to tell me, stop watching. You will find no evidence of a real-life crime. You have no jurisdiction over my dimension. Hey, in my last actual video, I said I was gonna make 2 follow-up videos about austerity and degrowth. And then I sat down to write them and I was like, I don't wanna do this. I just don't wanna do it. I sat with the Google Docs screen open for like an hour, just hitting up other tabs and doing stuff because I plain flat out was not interested in the subject matter. And as the deadline approached, it became harder and harder to think of anything to say. And it's not like I don't have strong feelings about austerity. It's not like I didn't know what to research further to fill in the gaps in my knowledge. It was just virtually impossible to start. I was like, yo, brain, give me some dopamine. I wanna make this essay. And my brain was like, sorry, dopamine machine. I was like, yo, brain, I wanna start this essay. Give me some dopamine. And my brain was like, sorry, dopamine machine. I was like, yo, brain, I want to write this essay, give me some dopamine. And my brain was like, sorry, dopamine machine broke. And I mean, I wrote something. The script I wrote was fucking terrible, even by my already pretty lax standards. It ended up being mostly about how cool it would be if the government paid for free gyms and had very little to do with austerity or why it's a problem. And I thought, okay, fuck this, I can't do this right now. I thought, I'll give it a week. I'll throw something else together and get to it next week. Here I am, it's the next week, and I have not gotten to it. Curious indeed. Creativity is fickle. Sometimes I can come up with ideas and they just shoot out of my brain and onto the page effortlessly, but most of the time it's kind of a struggle, and lately, it's almost always been a struggle to write Thought Slime videos. And I guess I'd probably think that I'm in some sort of creative funk right now, except that I have a control group. It's really easy still to write Scaredy Cats videos. That's been very simple comparatively. And that's weird, right? Because I have one channel where I can write about anything I choose, and it's hard to come up with ideas. I have another where I'm limited to one subject, and each week, it's simple as pie to come up with a new idea. Here I am able to write literally anything, and I often struggle to come up with an idea. Hell, sometimes I have the idea and I don't know where to start, and why is that? I don't always do an amazing job around here. I make careless mistakes a lot of the time. You'd be forgiven for thinking that I don't take my responsibilities as a creator with a big platform particularly seriously. And that's kind of how I viewed myself, someone who is woefully under-equipped to handle the job he has appointed to himself. But I don't really think that's true anymore. Without tooting my own horn, I think I had kind of the opposite problem. I mean, not the under-equipped part. That part I still believe. It's the responsibility part. I was taking myself far too seriously, and it meant that I was putting so much pressure on myself to make something meaningful each and every week. And it was kind of wearing on me. Like, I got really uncomfortable whenever someone told me that I changed their mind or their outlook, because I thought, oh Jesus, if I can do that, I have to be really careful to get the things that I'm changing their minds to right every time. And this responsibility to always talk about important, meaningful things. And when I look around at the ecosystem I find myself in, left-wing video essays or BarnTube, I'm surrounded on all sides by people who are far more capable of that than I am. I just felt this keeping up with the Joneses vibe, you know? Like, to be real with you, I am not qualified to discuss a lot of the stuff I talk about on this channel. I have neither the education or, quite frankly, the intellectual curiosity to do most of these subjects justice. Now, you may think I'm being hard on myself here, because I have a bit of a history of that, and I'm certainly not trying to. I'm trying to give myself permission to let go of a weight that's been on me, to refocus my energy in a way that I think will better serve me and you, my audience. A few days ago here, in this parallel dimension, I ingested 2 grams of psilocybin cubensis mushrooms. I ground them up into a powder, mixed them with lemon juice, and then drank them in a tea, and hoo boy, my goodness, doing them that way, it makes them hit a lot harder. But 2 grams is a small enough dose that I wasn't like in the melting clock dimension. I did, however, get powerfully nauseous. Which took me by surprise, because doing them this way, called doing a lemon tech, because drug guys just like to name stuff, is meant specifically to reduce nausea. You don't eat the actual mushroom, you just let the drugs in the mushroom get extracted by the lemon juice. Mushrooms cause nausea because your body has difficulty breaking down a compound in them called chitin. And making them this way means that you don't get the chitin, so you ought to be good. But I wasn't. I was extremely nauseous, which really bummed me out because the weather was beautiful and I wanted to take a short, socially distanced walk. And I looked over at my wall and it was doing that thing that walls do sometimes where they become a swirling vortex, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to be this high and feel this physically shitty. It's not a good combo. And I was thinking, all I've done now is I've ruined my night. Luckily for me, I'm incapable of being alone with my own thoughts, and I had left my phone on playing YouTube videos, and it autoplayed a video of the My Brother and Me television show's special features. I watch a lot of Mabim content on YouTube, so they correctly guessed that's what I'd want to see. And as I was being drawn deeper and deeper into this bummed out mood, Griffin McElroy made this joke. And for context's sake, just so that the joke makes sense, they're pretending that they're on Shark Tank.
Griffin, what have you prepared for us?
The first invention that I've come up with is pornography for birds.
Disgusting. Next.
I'd like to spend a little bit more time exploring pornography for birds with you.
Please. Our first question is right here in my hand.
I want to talk about bird lube now.
And that just hit me real hard, everybody. I could not stop laughing. That's such a nothing of a joke, but it's delivered with such incredible timing. It just struck me and I was all smiles for the rest of the night. And it turned everything around. I spent the rest of the night and every day since then in, to be honest, a pretty amazing mood. And I thought, wow, I wish I could do that for people. I wish it was my job to entertain people and just make them laugh. Do you see where this is going? That was kind of a light bulb moment for me, like, oh, that's what I want in life. I want to make people laugh. That's the thing I like to do. Duh. And that seems so obvious in hindsight. Like, I spent a decade trying to be a stand-up comedian, but also not being very good at it and not really trying at all. I fill my videos with all of these little bits and goofs, and I have somehow developed several catchphrases. Damani, Burger King, exactly one email, etc. When it comes to joke writing, I can do that endlessly. I can do that literally all day. It's my favorite thing in the world to do, and I'm never happier than when I'm joking around. Crystal clear. Of course that's what I want. I want to be a comedian. I want to make people laugh. But also, it's fully within my power to get that. Like, I don't have a boss. I get to make whatever I want. Nobody can stop me. Justin Trudeau can't stop me. The Pope can't stop me. So then, how come I don't just do that? Here I am feeling this pressure to be an educator instead of, or at least in addition to, an entertainer, when I don't feel like I'm in a position to be. Like it's my responsibility to educate people, when in fact, it's actually kind of irresponsible for me to presume I can educate people. I'm doing something I don't like doing because I think it's how to do right by my audience, but really, the thing I want to do, the thing I was afraid to let myself do, has more value and I'm better suited to it. And the thing I felt I had to do is potentially dangerous. Like, who the fuck am I to act like I know anything about anything? I don't. That's not to say that my opinions have no value or that I can't give you information or make you think in a novel way, but I'm not an authority on any subject. Unless, you know, it's Batman trivia. When I started making these videos, there were relatively few people making Anarchist 101 content. And I think me making that kind of content filled a particular niche at that time, but nowadays there's tons and tons of that kind of content, with a lot of people doing a far more thorough job than I'm capable of doing, or more realistically, a far more thorough job than I'm interested in doing. People ask me to look at things or explain concepts to them, and often it's something I have just like a rudimentary understanding of at best, and I still feel pressure to do it. And I worry that I've given people the impression that I'm like an expert on anything, anarchism, socialism, or anything like that. I'm not. What I am good at, what I can do, is speak well. I can write and speak convincingly. That's the thing I'm good at, and it's a very easy skill to misuse. And it's very easy to misuse unintentionally. And it's difficult to make people understand that. It's difficult to simultaneously get people to listen and agree with you, while also urging them to remain skeptical of you. That attitude incentivizes me to be less curious about the world, as though I'm in a position to instruct rather than be instructed. And I don't want to come across like I'm shrugging off the responsibility to be informed, but like, I definitely don't think it's healthy for me to be considered a thought leader. It butters my biscuits when I see other people act like that, and the more I go on like I have been, the more I start to act like that, and that's just not how I want to be. So bottom line, What does that mean for you, people that watch Thought Slime videos? What is Thought Slime 3.0 going to look like? You didn't even notice the transition between 1.0 and 2.0. When did that happen? Discuss in the comments. And that's a tough question to answer because I'm not so sure you're going to notice a huge difference. Like, if I hadn't brought it up in this video, you probably wouldn't notice anything changed at all. This video is mostly so that I hold myself accountable. The thing that's really changing here is my priorities. I would prefer, and I also think it's more responsible, for me to focus on entertaining my audience rather than first and foremost teaching my audience. I'm still gonna make video essays. They're still gonna be political as hell. I'm not like transitioning to a sketch comedy channel or whatever. I'm just changing my own motivation and focus. That being said, you might notice a few tweaks here and there. Number one, I'm going to be going for a much lighter and sillier tone around here. I'm going to be intentionally making my content more frivolous. Not entirely frivolous, mind you. This is a balancing act to be sure. But I'm going to be putting a lot less pressure on myself to make meaningful, important content. I make funny editorials, and it's time for me to get my head out of my ass about that a little. Number two, I want to expand the scope of the type of thing I talk about here. And I know that might sound strange to you, considering I'll occasionally make videos about like something I just wanted to talk about. Like, oh, what it's like to skateboard, or how Superman is good. But even then, I felt the pressure to make those essays important or bigger than they really needed to be. It couldn't just be a video about what it's like to learn to skateboard in your 30s. It had to be about like the ennui of late capitalism and the act of having a hobby as the reclamation of control of your life. And hey Matt, chill out a minute. You're scooting around an old piece of plastic with wheels, my guy. You're not changing the world. Number three, I want to take more artistic risks. I want to conversely put more effort into the creative and artistic side of my work. Less of me just standing in front of a green screen. More weird shit, more jokes, more bits, more weird asides. And look, if that's not what you're here for, I get it. Maybe some of you even feel a little betrayed by me saying this, like I built my clout or whatever on the idea that I'm some guy whose ideas you should listen to. And now I'm telling you that maybe you'd be better served if I just tried to make you laugh instead. Like maybe you shouldn't take some grubby little hambone on the internet all that seriously. And like, yeah, you're right, that's a fair criticism. You came here for one thing and that thing is changing, and maybe you don't like the new thing. I don't begrudge anyone who's not into that and wants to bounce. You don't owe me anything. It's all good. But I like doing this. I like making these videos. I want to keep making these videos. But the way I have been doing it, the way I've been approaching it, is not sustainable. I hope that in the future I can continue to be of use to you. I hope that I can make you smile and bring a little bit of harmless goofballery into your day. When I think about who I want to be, when I think about how I want people to see me, as a comedian, I would prefer to succeed or fail based on those merits. Oh, geez, I almost forgot. The whole reason I came to this friggin' dimension in the first place. My home dimension was consumed by otherworldly eyeballs, and I only escaped by sacrificing an eye to distract them. But if you're not careful, you too will find yourself in their clutches. Luckily. It seems like they haven't yet crossed over from the void realm into your reality, but that could very quickly change if, say, a number of small leftist projects were sacrificed to summon them. You'd have to be some sort of stink lord. Like a real stink person, just a real booger-eating diaper Dan, like a real shit. Hello and welcome to the eyeball zone. Please disregard the last few paragraphs. None of that, don't worry about that stuff. Hey, are you disappointed I didn't get to that video about degrowth? Well, luckily for you, I have a better option for you. They did it better than I was going to, I can tell you that much. I get a lot of people asking me how I remain hopeful in the face of climate catastrophe seeming more and more inevitable. And I don't really have a good answer for you, but you know who kinda does, is Global Weirdo or Glocal Weirdo. It's unclear. The channel's name is Glocal, but in the video it says Global, so I'm guessing that he either couldn't get Global Weirdo as a name or he misspelled it and now he doesn't know how to change it. I don't know. Either way, he did this video about eco-anxiety and how he cured his by reading Jason Hickel's Less is More, How Degrowth Will Save Society. And I'm gonna be honest, it's a better explanation of degrowth than I had intended to give. You should go watch it. Hello, the Eyeball Zone. Yeah, okay, I'll ask them. Do you have a small leftist project you'd like to see featured here in the Eyeball Zone? No problem, just send an email to thoughtslimeditor@gmail.com with the word eyeball somewhere in the description and pertinent details like your pronouns, and perhaps you will find yourself trapped here in the Eyeball Zone. It's just that simple, just do that. That's all you gotta do, not a big deal. In the spirit of comedy, I will now read you some knock-knock jokes from Laugh Out Loud Jokes for Kids by Rob Elliott. Knock knock, who's there? Butter. Butter who? I butter not tell you. It's a secret. Knock, knock. Who's there? Wendy. Wendy who? When do you think we'll be done with these knock, knock jokes? Knock, knock. Who's there? Haley. Haley who? Haley a cab so I can go home. Knock, knock. Who's there? Wayne. Wayne who? The Wayne is really coming down, so open the door. Knock, knock. Who's there? Weasel. Weasel who? Weasel be late if you don't hurry up. Knock, knock. Who's there? Irish. Irish who? Irish you'd let me in? Good one. Knock, knock. Who's there? Ashley. Ashley who? Ashley, I changed my mind. I don't want to come in. Funny stuff. Like and subscribe.